Welcome to the Barefoot Interview. Today we're speaking with Emma Donovan, who's coming to perform at Earth Station Festival in Belair National Park from 21 to 23 October. Thanks for speaking with us today, Emma.
Oh, G'day, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Emma, when and where did you find your love for music? What age did you start performing?
Oh, at a really young age. I think my mum had me singing around when I was about 7 or 8 for the family and all that kind of stuff. So grew up in a musical family, and I've been singing, I turned 30 the other day, and I've been pretty much singing in bands since I was 15. So
wow. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Your music incorporates your native language. Were you raised speaking the language alongside English, or did you make a conscious decision to learn it later?
I grew up with words from both sides of my grandparents, on my mum and dad's side, but Gumbaynggirr is a dialect from that my grandfather and his people spoke. He taught us little bits of it, but because it wasn't spoken at a long time growing up when my mother was young, it kind of has just kind of empowered the community and everybody now. The language has been kind of reclaimed. So I've only just learnt it in the last probably 4 to 5 years. It's been exciting. I've been writing lots of songs, and it's a big part of kind of keeping that language alive now. Is a big thing for us, especially for the younger generation and them, having to learn it like my brother's family.
So it's pretty important for you to retain your Indigenous heritage through your music, I take it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's a big mob of the elders and that have gotten together up home and started up a language centre called Murbai, where everybody from the community can go and learn more, and not just from the community. Anybody that just wants to learn that language, they teach it, and it's a big part of the schools there now in the North Coast, from Nambucca Heads all the way up to Coffs Harbour, because that's all Gumbaynggirr country. So, it's inspired me to learn more about my dad's side, because I haven't grown up with my father. So, and my dad speaks Nuggunja and Bibbulmun languages from Western Australia. So, it's kind of, all kind of rolling along now, and it's inspired me to write more and learn more from, both sides of my family.
What a great thing. You've been quoted as saying, I guess along with learning for yourself, you've been quoted as saying that you want to educate the global community to understand more about Aboriginal culture and spirituality. Yeah. How are you feeling about this goal now that you're more established as an artist?
Look, I think it's a big time for Indigenous artists now. There's so many different artists now that are writing more in their language. I think bands like Yoti Indi and Gulmu Yinapingu who've had language, very strong and fluent, from them communities of Northeast Arnhem, and Central, Desert. There's been a lot more albums and Indigenous artists now that, have been inspired. Like, I feel like I've been inspired by those artists to kind of, want to write, songs not in English, but to write in my own language. So I think it's just an exciting time for Indigenous artists, and I can see now with the festival that's coming up, the WOMAD Earth Station Festival, there's the Inwaja band and Frankie Emma, who sings in Trinjara, and, some of the Inwaja boys that sing in Yongomata and Trinjara as well. It's a good time to kind of hear them languages and hear all that. I think the most beautiful thing about Aboriginal language is that there's lots of different dialects to learn. So it's pretty exciting, yeah.
You're pretty versatile yourself, actually. You perform in a blend of genres like roots, reggae, gospel, soul. How do you come to like and perform in all of these styles?
A lot of the music I listen to these days is a lot more roots and reggae. Growing up when I was a lot younger, my grandfather and my grandmother on my mother's side used to sing and write a lot of country gospel songs. So, I was brought up on the old Tammy Wynette and the Loretta Lynn, Johnny Cash, all that type of stuff. and then had the country gospel songs that all my grandfather used to write because he used to sing in the churches, and used to, was brought up around the missionaries in Nambucca Head. So, I was brought up on that. And then as my music kind of developed and I got older, I started, looking for a lot more of the roots and the reggae. And, a lot of my music collection now is, African music, is, music from all different type of languages, only because I write in the language now. So it's kind of a blend of everything.
Yeah, what a great range of influence.
My heart's, I love country music. I'm a big fan of a lot of the older country songs, as well as reggae, older reggae stuff as well.
Yeah, that was my next question, was do you have a favourite? So that's good. No, that's
yeah, awesome. I love belting out the old country song every now and then, and I get with my mum, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's all about how it makes you feel, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's got to be how you feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've toured pretty extensively across Australia. You performed in major centres as well as rural communities. Do you have a favourite place to perform?
You know what? I just got back from the 45th anniversary of the walk-off from the Gurindji people, and I've been on tour with the Black Arm Band for about 5 years, and I've been up on stage singing that song, From Little Things, Big Things Grow, with, Kev Carmody, Paul Kelly. And, me as a younger person, I was kind of learning about the song and the history of that people and that country. And it was only last week I just finished doing another tour with Black Arm Band, and we went for the 45th anniversary. And I think it's by far one of the best experiences I've had with all my travels, just being out there in that community and, having to learn about all that history that happened there, and then finally to be there and to go swimming around Waddy Creek and, yarning to a lot of the people that, that were related to people like Vincent Lingiari and, some of the other countrymen there. It was just a big honour, and it was a big experience for me. So I think that's kind of my favourite so far with all my travels. It's kind of just, it's going to hold a little place in my heart for a while, I think.
Yeah. You mentioned the Black Arm Band. This is a group whose purpose is to perform, promote and celebrate contemporary Australian Indigenous music. How did you come to get involved with them? Did they approach you or did you approach them?
Well, I played at WOMAD with my solo band about, I think it was 2007, in Adelaide, and the Black Arm Band came out of an arts project in Melbourne, and at the time Stephen Richardson was directing it and Kate Benthoven was the producer, and they approached me there when I was doing a gig down at WOMAD. I just finished there for the women's stage, and there was a few different female artists that all kind of came together that day. One of them was Leela Downs, the Mahatela Queens, and another Israeli artist. I can't actually remember her name, but straight after that, the guys from the Black Arm Band approached me. They were just getting the band together, and they wanted to yarn to me about, coming together with Black Arm Band. So it was all a bit new for me at the start, because I remember them saying that they wanted to get people like Uncle Archie Roach and Ruby Hunt together, and all I remember was just being really excited, because half the people that are in the Black Arm Band are people that I've been inspired by. So it's kind of, it's weird. Like I ring and I talk to Annie Lou Bennett every day, but she's like one of my biggest, favorite female artists. Like she's my inspiration. I said it to her the day. I go, hey, it's funny because I talk, we talk a lot of crap and we yarn and we talk about Black Arm Band gigs, and we're always on the road together. So it's like when I see it, every now and then I have to take that little, moment aside and go, oh, that's right, I keep forgetting, you're Lou Bennett from the Titters.
We were talking about performing, either in major cities or in rural communities, and how you sort of managed to mix it up, doing lots of both. Do you find at all that your music is treated differently in the larger cities than it is in the communities, or the response to it is different?
Yeah, the response is always different when you go to communities, like you go to your people. There's always the biggest mob when we rock up, when we did that gig out there at Gulgurindji, the community was there. And, in some of the communities, they don't have a lot of stuff for a while, so it's kind of, it can get a bit jammed packed, and there could be like a big mob from not just that community, but from other little communities coming in to kind of, hear what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely different, I mean, going to a community like Daly River, Nauyu community, or Manyalaluk community, or Nitmaluk up around Catherine Gorges, a lot different to, coming and playing at the WOMAD Festival at the Botanic Gardens. But, saying that too, I think, both of them are two kind of different experiences and
different
whether
different
opportunities for us. And, I'm always kind of, very happy and very grateful to, play at both. And I think for me, playing at festivals like WOMAD and, being a part of the lineup, I just get overwhelmed, seeing other different artists, especially ones from different, cultural backgrounds. It's a really good time to make good relationships and share a lot more and just learn a lot more about, different music. I'm so excited about this WOMAD Earth Station. I think it's going to be a really good festival.
Oh, we're excited as well. Look, you hail from New South Wales originally. Where's your home base these days? Where do you go to think about and write your music?
Everywhere. I'm everywhere at the moment. I've been in Perth a lot these last couple of months after doing the Northern Territory tour. But, I've moved to Melbourne in the last 4 months, even though I haven't really been there.
Okay.
But I've moved there. And, Sydney was my home, but I've moved down there just to be a lot more closer to working alongside Black Armband, and also just, continuing to just keep writing and recording there.
Sure. Tell us about your recent appearance at the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver. How was that? Performing to such a variety of cultures,
It was cool. It was amazing. It was amazing. We got to Vancouver, and we were invited by some really beautiful Indigenous people there to. Firstly, before we performed, we were invited to a few of the people's homes and that in Vancouver, and we got to meet with a lot of the Indigenous mob there. And the concert was pretty much like a gift for a lot of the Indigenous mob there to kind of meet up with them and perform for them. And it was really good. Got to make some really good connections, and it was exciting, like being there right in the middle of Vancouver and being a part of the Winter Olympics just as it started. I think that's when we kind of flew out. So it was a kind of a thing that led up to it just before it started.
Sure. You've also played other pretty amazing locations like the Royal Concert Hall in London and the Sydney Opera House. Did you have a favourite concert from all of those amazing locations?
I think it's really hard to get, to kind of pick what kind of one is my favourite. But, every one of them have, different kind of, little memories and things, that you kind of remember and you kind of take. I think the Vancouver one was pretty special, meeting up with, some of the mob there, and, there's some really pretty places and that we got to kind of see when we were there, and just, learning a lot more about the culture and stuff like that. And also, one of my favourites was singing and performing at the 10th anniversary of the Cultural Centre over in New Caledonia. That's right. I've been back and forth to New Caledonia now, probably more than a couple of times, and we always get invited to kind of play at a lot of their anniversaries for their festivals and that. But one in particular was the 10th anniversary of their arts centre there, their cultural and arts centre.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been really nice. I feel like I've made a really good relationship with a lot of the Indigenous communities from the Pacific, doing some gigs over in Vanuatu and New Caledonia and Fiji. It's been really good, just going back. And it's been fun for me because I've, managed to build relationships with a lot of the different artists there. And we kind of bump into each other a few times now, so that's been really nice.
While we're on the topic of favourite memories, you've also performed with a pretty awesome list of artists like Christine Arnoux, you mentioned Paul Kelly and Yothu Yindi before, Jimmy Little, as well as younger artists on the scene like Idol contestant Casey Donovan. Do you have a favourite memory from any of those performances? Yeah,
one of my favourite collaborations that was when I sang for Annie Ruby Hunter's tribute we sang at the Domain at the opening night for the Sydney Festival last year, and there was a tribute there for Ruby Hunter that had just passed away, Annie Ruby, and I got to sing with Renee Gayer, and I got to perform a song that her and Annie Ruby recorded on Annie Roop's album, I think it was in 2004, they recorded a song together from her Feeling Good album called I Am a Woman. So the Roach and Hunter family asked me to perform that with Renee Gayer, and I was pretty excited. It's been probably one of my biggest highlights so far, just to perform with her, just because I'm a big fan of hers. I've got, a lot of her albums, and my dad's a huge fan of her, so he couldn't believe it as much as I couldn't believe it.
That's
so
amazing.
Really
Is there an artist who you would love to collaborate with that you haven't?
There's a couple of artists that I'd love to collaborate with. There's a Nigerian artist in particular that I would really love to collaborate with. Her name's Asha, and I've got a lot of her stuff, and also I've seen Angelique Kidjo perform and Salif Keita perform, or some beautiful African musicians. I've seen them perform when they come to Australia. I follow them when they're here. So, yeah, I'd love to, hopefully do something with them one day.
That's cool. You've racked up a pretty impressive list of awards too. I see you recently were the first Indigenous artist to win the New Artist to Radio competition with your single Changes, as well as winning Best Female Artist in 2009 Bump Awards. And you've had nominations for Deadly Awards and Independent Music Oz Awards too. Do you feel that this type of recognition means you're on the right track, or is it just another avenue for promoting your message and educating the global community like you want to?
Yeah. Look, I feel like there's been some really, like there's them community awards, like the Bump Awards and the music, well, not so much the New Music to Radio Awards, but the Bump Awards, and there's another awards ceremony that's happening on the North Coast for women's achievements in culture, and they've asked me to come up home and be a part of that. So things like that always make you feel, that you are doing the right thing. And it's not just the awards too. Outside of music and performing, I get asked to be a part of a lot of workshops for Indigenous communities, like doing, music workshops with kids and helping do songwritings. And I get the occasional, like every now and then I'll have emails and that from high school kids who are learning about, Indigenous culture at school, and, they want to ask questions and do interviews and stuff like that. And them kind of things to me mean a lot, because I know that, people are kind of want, more information, and they feel that kind of connection to kind of focus on some of my songs that I've written. So that makes me feel all nice. Yeah, it feels like you're doing a good thing.
The last thing I wanted to ask you was about your EP, in the Naranga, which was a tribute to the Stolen Generation. It was launched to coincide with National Sorry Day. If you can really quickly tell us what that moment was like, because that must have been pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I was very, very happy with the recording that we did, and also the beautiful film clip that we did for Naranga, because it was a very important song. It was one song that I was actually asked to write. There's a mob from the Kimberleys who put a compilation together called Cry Stolen, and it gave me the opportunity to just touch on them, them feelings and that emotion from the Stolen Generation, and it was my tribute to them.
Look, you're performing on the third day of the Earth Station Festival, Sunday 23rd of October. We're really looking forward to seeing the show.
Yay.
Thanks, Emma, heaps for talking to us.
Thank you.
We've got lots of great questions there. So
thanks heaps.
Okay, see you, Emma.
Okay, see you, mate, bye.